decided to move ahead with the impeachment motion against Chief Justice Deepak Mishra. But it's not as if the entire top brass of the Congress party is on the same page. Manmohan Singh has already spoken out against this. In private, in an interview as well, he said that he didn't believe that an impeachment motion was the right way to go. There are other seniors like P. Chidambaram, A.K. Antony, Digvijay Singh, who are missing from the list of signatories. In fact, people like Salman Khurshid have spoken against pushing for an impeachment motion in public. The likes of Abhishek Singhvi were initially opposed to such an idea. They've now come around to it. I'll have Abhishek Singhvi with me live in the newsroom in a moment from now. He'll explain his position. But there are several leaders within the Congress party who are opposed to the idea. There are leaders from the Samajwadi Party like Jaya Bachchan, Revati Raman, Beni Prasad Verma who haven't signed this petition, and parties like the Trinamool Congress, the Biju Janata Dal, the DMK, the AIDMK, the RJD, the TDP, the TRS have not joined this Congress-sponsored move. On the newsroom, I have a power-packed debate on whether this is just a revenge petition or an attempt to save democracy. But before that, here's the top story.
We have moved a motion for impeachment for the removal of Chief Justice of India.
The opposition, after sitting on the fence for many weeks, pulled the trigger on Friday. It has moved a notice for impeachment of the Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra, the first ever against a CJI. That the impeachment motion is being moved just a day after a bench led by CJI Mishra dismissed petitions demanding probe into Judge B.H. Loya's death is hard to ignore. The Congress, however, insists that it is purely about judicial ethics and has nothing to do with politics, and pointed at the disquiet within the top court, where 4 senior-most judges have questioned the CJI's way of functioning.
There have been situations when questions have been raised about the manner in which he has dealt with certain cases. This manifested itself when 4 senior-most judges held a press conference on January 12, 2018, where they publicly expressed their disquiet about the manner in which the Chief Justice was exercising his powers.
The opposition has listed 5 grounds for impeachment. 1. The CJI is allotting sensitive cases to preferred benches. 2. CJI's alleged likely involvement in the medical college recognition scam. 3. The CJI heard a plea for probe in the medical college scam in which he himself could have been under investigation. This, the opposition says, is a violation of the Code of Conduct. 4. The CJI changed the date of an administrative order, which allegedly amounts to forgery. And last, he got land using false affidavit when he was a lawyer. But even before Vice President Venkaiah Naidu decides on the notice, there are cracks in opposition ranks. Mamata Banerjee's Trinamool Congress, Lalu Yadav's Rashtriya Janata Dal and the DMK are not signatories to the notice. There is difference of opinion within the Congress as well. Former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, on whose advice the move was dropped earlier, is not a signatory, while another leader, Salman Khurshid, seemed cagey.
ये गंभीरता के साथ, सोच समझ के साथ कोई भी अगर निर्णय लेता है तो बड़ी गंभीरता के साथ, क्योंकि एक संविधान की बात हो रही है और एक इंस्टीट्यूशन की बात हो रही है, हमने जान के डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह को इन्वॉल्व नहीं किया.
For me to reflect specifically on whether the grounds are justified or not justified would be unfair.
The BJP has lashed out at the opposition. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley posted a message on Facebook saying it is a revenge petition after the falsehood of the Congress party has been established in the Justice Loya death case.
Government is working in every possible way, but opposition is constantly trying to degrade and denigrate the institutions. When in 2G case, the matter fell and they were acquitted, did we think of bringing impeachment motion against them?
The opposition may deny any politics behind the impeachment notice, but the fact remains that this comes just a day after Supreme Court's dismissal of any probe into Justice Loya's death. And with a CGI-led bench hearing the Ayodhya Ram Janmabhoomi land dispute, it is almost certain that any debate over judicial ethics and reforms is sure to be hijacked politically. With video journalist Anil Jaiswal, this is Mosmi Singh in Delhi for India Today.
Is the Raga impeachment petition an attempt to save democracy, or is this really just a revenge petition? An attempt to get back at the Chief Justice, an attempt which could leave a long-lasting scar on the face of the Indian judiciary. To debate this, I am joined by a formidable lineup of some of the country's top lawyers. I want to begin by introducing Abhishek Manu Singhvi of the Congress Party. He first said that the Congress Party should not move ahead with an impeachment motion against the Chief Justice, but has now swung to the other side. I'll ask him why. Also with us on the broadcast, squaring off against him, one of India's best-known advocates, Prashant Bhushan. Arun Jaitley, in his letter today, hits out at people he calls disruptors. Prashant Bhushan, I assume, is one who's in the government's crosshairs. Also with us on this broadcast, Kamini Jaiswal, senior advocate of the Supreme Court. Aryamar Sundaram, very well-known senior advocate of the Supreme Court. Representing the BJP on this broadcast is Gaurav Bhatia, lawyer and spokesperson. I want to go across to Abhishek Singhvi first. Dr. Singhvi, from what I gathered, you originally were of the view that filing an impeachment motion against the Chief Justice was inadvisable. You've now switched to the other side of the fence. The Congress itself bitterly divided at a time when relations with the judiciary are already so frail. Why would the Congress Party do something which so obviously seeks to politicize the Indian highest judiciary?
Rahul, let me start by saying that our contract must be observed. You had agreed to do a one-to-one with me for 3, 4, 5 minutes and then excuse me, and I hope you stick to that contract. Second, I am not swung, as you say, to the other thing, and it's not a bitterly divided. I think these are not factually accurate. All people who have locus, the only people who have locus are Rajya Sabha MPs, which is forgotten. Rajya Sabha MPs have all signed, barring 1 or 2 notable exceptions, who fall in an exempted category in the sense that one is a former Prime Minister and a constitutional post holder, another is a direct litigant in some matters. And barring that, all the Rajya Sabha members that I know of have signed. Thirdly, I know, Rahul, it is true that I had not signed earlier. In fact, I was probably the last person to sign last week. And it is partly out of party solidarity, discussion in the party, etc. I do believe that it's a sad day. It's not something I'm done with pleasure. I also believe that the possibility of impeachment should be a far more important and useful deterrent than impeachment itself. But I think things have come to a pass where a feeling of distrust has increased. And let me just put it, I mean, you have the specific 4 or 5 charges. You have them written down, and I can repeat them. I'm sure others.
No, but once again, I've gone through those charges at great length. None of those charges are immediately proven. If you read how impeachment happens, there should be proven misconduct. In none of the 5 charges that have been leveled is the misconduct proven to an extent that would justify trying to push for impeachment. Is this not a directly political move?
Rahul, with great respect, I think you have been misadvised on the law. If there are proven charges of misbehavior, no impeachment virtually would be necessary. Impeachment proceeding itself requires the proof. It is during the impeachment proceeding that the proof emerges and leads to a decision. It is not as if you suggest, and that is a misreading of the law, that before you file an impeachment proceeding, the charges must be proven. That certainly is not the law. That cannot be the law. Yes, they do remain allegations. They must be allegations of a certain degree of credibility and prima facie nature. They must not be wild, frivolous, vexatious, unknown. But there is no such thing that we must have proven, as you put it. Proven by whom? Proven in what? The only way you can prove charges of misdemeanor or misbehavior about a judge anywhere is in the impeachment proceedings, which have yet to start. So it would be a bootstraps argument. Let's not get into that. As I said, those 5 charges are itemized. It will have to await proof and arguments and decision. But certainly beyond those charges also, there is a general feeling of distrust and inability for colleagues to proceed together in the judiciary also. A feeling of distrust within the judiciary also. And I think at the end of the day, members of Parliament, Rajya Sabha are entitled to exercise their constitutional option. It's a constitutional option. It's not something, you make it sound like
but Dr. Singhvi, the one thing that is being said in hushed tones,
extra constitutional.
That's the implicit undertone without somebody saying so. So let me be frank and direct. Is the Congress trying to intimidate and put pressure on Chief Justice Deepak Mishra ahead of the pronouncement of the Supreme Court verdict in the Ram Janmabhoomi Temple case, so that it seems to voters at large, to the people of India at large, that this Chief Justice is somehow compromised and therefore in alliance with the BJP government at the centre? Whatever verdict comes out, you don't know what that verdict is, I don't know what that verdict is, but before that you're trying to put the Chief Justice in the dock. Is that not what's at play here, sir?
I'll tell you one thing, this very interesting question, 2 answers. One, this impeachment was actually prepared and signed weeks and weeks ago. It is not, it's only been moved now, it has been signed weeks and weeks ago. And 7 different parties have joined. Others may well join. There are a lot of parties you are forgetting who may not have signed, but who would join the debate in the affirmative in the Parliament if and when it's taken up. Now, if so many diverse sections feel this, the question you have to ask is a phrase you used just now. Why is it that diverse people will feel that a particular, approach to a particular case is likely to happen? It is not the reason for impeachment at all. But I'm saying, why should you have to use that phrase at all? Why is that perception there?
No, because you are building the perception through your actions. Are you not doing, as someone whose family comes from the Indian judicial system, are you not doing disfavor to the Indian judiciary? Now, basically through this action, we are seeing 4 judges come out and speak in public, that big dramatic press conference. You're basically making it seem as if every Chief Justice or justices in the Supreme Court are somehow passing decisions based on what the government wants them to do, which you know yourself is not the case. In so many instances in the recent past as well, this same bench in the Supreme Court has gone and pronounced verdicts against the government of the day.
I must thank you, Rahul. Rahul, I must thank you. Rahul, I must thank you for your left-handed compliment that the Congress is able to act and get the entire judiciary acting. Do you think the 4 judges who held a press conference did it at the behest of the Congress? Do you think that feeling the trust deficit or that great cleavage was a result of the Congress? Do you think it has ever happened before in the history of the Supreme Court? And do you think that a perception can be created by one party or a few parties shouting impeachment, impeachment? You have yourself called it, you have yourself discussed, underlined and identified what you call a perception. Now the point is not that, the point is the impeachment motion may fail. But if sufficient parties across the spectrum, and I repeat, many more parties who have not signed may actually speak in favor of the motion once taken up. If across the board several parties have that feeling, impeachment motions are not moved lightly. This itself was kept in abeyance for weeks and weeks. But if there is a feeling, I don't understand how you can actually repeal by implication the constitutional provision for impeachment by saying the moment you use it, you're doing it politically.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there with Dr. Singhvi. I want to bring
Otherwise, why have the impeachment power?
I want to bring in our panelists now. I want to go across to Arima Sundaram because he feels strongly that this impeachment motion is not a good idea. You just heard Dr. Singhvi explain the rationale for impeachment. Do you believe there's any merit that these are unprecedented times? At this time, we know in public that 4 senior judges of the Supreme Court themselves don't think that the Supreme Court is being run properly, and therefore to move an impeachment process is the natural and the right thing to do. Arima Sundaram, please.
Well, firstly, Rahul, my good friend Dr. Singhvi, I have to disagree with and have to disapprove of his trying to bring in what the 4 senior judges of the Supreme Court said. Look, all that really happened there were 4 respected senior judges of the Supreme Court who felt that there were issues in administration which were not going well. They spoke out about that. They spoke out at a time when the Supreme Court itself has been time and again insisting on transparency of all parts of the government, all wings of the government. And as far as I personally am concerned, if that transparency is enforced by the courts so far as other wings of the government is concerned, what's wrong with the transparency about itself? In fact, that press conference was called by the judges of the Supreme Court actually saying, look here, we need to clean up our administration.
It happened. Arema Sundaram.
After that, it was
since then,
matter,
we've got reporters who track the Supreme Court on a continuing basis. You will agree as well. One second, sir. Because today an informal meeting of Supreme Court judges was called, but nothing has changed. The Supreme Court is still being administered by the Chief Justice in a way that other brother judges are not satisfied with. They feel that he is functioning with a certain level of bias and partisanship.
Well, Rahul, then you have some information I don't have. Because as far as I'm concerned, after this has happened, they have talked amongst themselves. Now, there can still be issues in the system, in the administration, etc., which is not pleasing to other judges of the court, and rightly so, if they so feel it. But my whole point is, that does not become a ground for impeachment. These 4 judges did not say, now please impeach the Chief Justice. They did not say, what we want is the Chief Justice removed. So I really find fault with political parties which are trying to pin this entire impeachment motion on those 4 judges.
Okay, that's a good counter by Arema Sundaram.
Administration of the court, how they were dissatisfied, how they needed it to be set right.
And I want to put
They did not turn around and say, now what we want is the Chief Justice of India to be removed, impeach the Chief Justice, and I think the political parties which are pinning their entire move on those 4 judges are doing a disservice to themselves, to those 4 judges, and to the country at large.
Okay, I want to use that argument to put that question to Prashant Bhushan, because when Justice Chalameshwar was asked, Prashant Bhushan
can't be attacked so easily.
When Justice Chalameshwar was asked whether the Chief Justice should be impeached, he said, no, impeachment is not a solution. You are one of the advocates trying to push for this Chief Justice to be impeached. In the Rajya Sabha, the opposition parties backing this impeachment motion do not have the numbers. Is this not playing politics with the highest court in the law? Somehow trying to use these opposition parties to vitiate India's highest judiciary. Prashant Bhushan.
You see, the situation in the Supreme Court is already vitiated. When these 4 judges held that press conference, they pointed out that the Chief Justice is not administering the court properly, that he is not exercising his powers as master of roster in a proper manner, and as a result of this, democracy is in danger. They said, we are alerting the people to it so that the people can take whatever remedial action can be taken. Now, if you look at the charges in the impeachment motion, the first charge is about the Chief Justice having agreed to accept bribes in the medical college case. Now, this was being investigated by the CBI. The CBI, as is clear from the FIR against that retired judge as well as the preliminary inquiry against the sitting judge of the High Court, had enough evidence in this case, and from the documents that have come out, from the conversations that have come out, the CBI seems to have enough evidence in this case to damn the Chief Justice as well. Now, if that is the case and the CBI is neither moving forward to file the charge sheet thereafter, nor doing anything further in the matter, there is a serious danger of the Chief Justice being blackmailed by the government using the CBI's investigation that has already taken place. And if the Chief Justice gets blackmailed by the government, and if the Chief Justice misuses his powers as master of roster, he comes to control the entire Supreme Court. He is not merely heading one bench or leading one bench, he is then being able to influence all important and sensitive cases which come to the Supreme Court by fixing them before benches which will give a predetermined outcome. Now, if that is the situation, certainly democracy is in danger, especially when you have a government which is one after another destroying all institutions in this country. They have not appointed the Lokpal, they have destroyed the CVC, they are destroying the Election Commission, and now they are seeking to control the judiciary in this manner. So therefore, what is the option? I have always been saying that, look, impeachment is a political process and therefore this should be replaced by a judicial Lokpal. We should have a totally independent body which is independent of the government, independent of parliament and independent of the judiciary also, to whom complaints against judges can be addressed. But nothing was done. I made a complaint under the in-house machinery against the Chief Justice. Unfortunately, nothing could be done there also because there is no provision in the in-house machinery.
You've made a few points
against the Chief Justice.
Gaurav Bhatia,
so
one second, Mr. Bhushan, I'll come back to you in a moment. Gaurav Bhatia, let's look at the charges against the Chief Justice. His alleged role in the medical college scam, and also the fact that he could possibly be sitting... One second, hear my question,
Allow me to make my
Gaurav, hear my question, please. The charges indeed are serious. The fact that he got land using a false affidavit when he was a lawyer is something that he pretty much admitted when he forfeited that land when he became a judge. Changing administrative orders, the dates for administrative orders, this is forgery. Dismissing pleas for probe in the medical college scam, because at some level he could possibly have been implicated. Now, if a man is sitting in judgment in cases that involve himself, these are indeed unprecedented times, Gaurav Bhatia.
First of all, let me make my opening remark. I think that from a politically motivated petition that was dismissed yesterday by the Honorable Supreme Court, now we are seeing a politically motivated impeachment. And let us first understand that Congress, after losing their political identity, is trying to fight political battles within the Supreme Court. I would also like to say that Mr. Prashant Bhushan is not right when he says that there was an allegation in the FIR that the Honorable Chief Justice of India was to take money, because I would also like to tell the viewers that Mr. Prashant Bhushan has been found guilty of professional misconduct by one judgment of the Supreme Court delivered very recently in the same matter. So let us discuss it charge by charge and not make baseless allegations on the program. The first charge is that there was favor done to the Prasad Education Trust matter. Let me tell you that the two orders passed by a bench of which the Honorable the Chief Justice of India was part of, he actually set aside the order of the High Court which had given relief to Prasad Education Trust. So there was no relief given by the bench. Second, the charge is that he dealt with a matter on the administrative side and the judicial side.
One second, Gaurav Bhatia. The CBI comes to the Chief Justice, says, we've got evidence against Justice Shukla. Instead of allowing the CBI to go ahead and act against him, possibly even arrest him, that permission is withheld.
Absolutely incorrect. There has been an in-house inquiry, and after that action has been taken against the judge you are referring to, and all work on the judicial side has been withdrawn from that judge. Second, there is, as the Constitution says, an impeachment process. Now, impeachment is not a tool of convenience to be used by political parties. Impeachment is the last remedy provided under the Constitution for the protection of our country and judiciary. Now, Congress, as Mr. Singhvi was saying, had got these 60 signatures and 50 is the requirement weeks ago. Then why did they wait for so many weeks? And then once Judge Loya's judgment was delivered, immediately they sprung into action. And that is why, correctly said by the court yesterday, that please don't get politics into the affairs of the Supreme Court. Now, I would also come to the other two charges. There is a charge that he dealt with the matter on the administrative and the judicial side, where he could have also been under the scope of inquiry. Let me tell you, there are two judgments of the Supreme Court. Prakash Chand, which clearly says that Chief Justice is the master of the roster, and there is another judgment of the Supreme Court which clarifies that even if there are allegations made on the Chief Justice of India, the bench can be decided by the Chief Justice of India. And Rahul, let me also tell you, Mr. Prashant Bhushan filed 2 PILs, tried to do forum shopping in the Supreme Court. He was reprimanded by the Supreme Court, and this issue was decided. So is Rahul Gandhi or Mr. Prashant Bhushan above the Honorable Supreme Court of India?
Okay, since that's a direct charge against Prashant Bhushan, I'll let him respond. I'm also equally keen on going across to Kamini Jaiswal. But Mr. Bhushan, the response from the BJP, the crux of it is that even though Chief Justice Deepak Mishra denied the CBI permission to prosecute Justice Shukla when the CBI came to him with apparently incriminating evidence, he instituted an in-house panel that has later found Justice Shukla guilty, and work has been taken away from him. Therefore, it's not as if Deepak Mishra was trying to save Justice Shukla. He just didn't want the CBI to go and arrest him. He set up an in-house inquiry. How do you respond to this point and everything else Gaurav Bhatia of the BJP said about you? Prashant Bhushan.
See, what the Chief Justice did by way of in-house inquiry later was when the shit had hit the fan. Prior to that, when people were not aware about this whole medical college scam, and when the matter had just started being investigated by the CBI, and the CBI found that money had been taken by this High Court judge, and that after the Supreme Court had reversed that order, it's very interesting that
Again, can't both get speaking over each other? Prashant Bhushan gave you a patient hearing extending the same courtesy. Let Prashant Bhushan complete. I will come back to you. Mr. Bhushan.
So the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice set aside the order of the High Court for which the apparently a consideration of 1 crore had been taken, and the CBI went to the Chief Justice and said that, look, please allow us to arrest this man because he is going to return the money and we'll catch him red-handed. That permission was denied. Besides, the Chief Justice allowed that medical college to file a writ petition directly in the Supreme Court. And that writ petition was filed in the Supreme Court. And that writ petition was heard on the 4th, then adjourned to the 11th. From 11th, it was adjourned to the 18th. And even on 18th, the order is not apparently passed. It is passed on the 21st after the FIR is registered by the CBI against that retired judge, and the shit had hit the roof. So therefore, what do these actions indicate? Why should permission have been given by the Chief Justice for them to file?
Can I bring in Kamini Jaiswal also? She's been listening intently for a while. Ms. Jaiswal, is this not a clearly political petition?
Yes.
You know, the government is calling this a revenge petition. You're making it seem as if the Chief Justice and the government are on the one side, the opposition is on the other. You're such a senior advocate.
The government
is this even the right thing to do, ma'am?
Listen, no, there's no question of seniority of advocate, but my experience in the Supreme Court, I have never seen Supreme Court at this low level as I see it today. And I'm really, really pained with that. Number two, to say it is political, the whole process of impeachment is political. It's Rajya Sabha MPs who have to sign the petition. I mean, if the Constitution provides for a political measure, and then to say a revenge petition, I am shocked at that statement, because this petition was signed long time back, and I am informed that they had asked for an appointment from the chairman of the Rajya Sabha 1 week ago. Did they know that the judgment was coming yesterday? Judgment suddenly came yesterday. Revenge petition means what? 70 members of the Rajya Sabha sign a petition and you call this a revenge petition? I'm shocked at the statements that are being made. The whole process is political. You can't deny the fact that, but that's what the Constitution provides. What do you do about that? I mean, to
let Arima Sundaram respond. Kamini Jaiswal saying, and this is a view echoed by many, Mr. Arima.
Democracy is in danger.
You know, these are not words that you hear often coming from Supreme Court judges, that democracy is in danger. And Kamini Jaiswal saying in all the years that she's practiced, things have never been so low and bad in the Supreme Court. Mr. Arima Sundaram.
Well, Rick, we can always have a difference of opinion on various issues, but the point is this, Rahul. There is a difference between a process being political and a process being politicized. There is a bit of a difference in the two. Kamini Jaiswal is absolutely correct. Impeachment is a political process. But my point is, whatever reasons for this political process to start may have been felt by the members who signed it, That is all right. It's up to them. They decide they want to do it. What I ask is, once that was presented to the chairman, what was the need to rush to the media, go before the media by certain people, publicize every one of them, almost argue a brief proving every charge? You know the judge cannot come on the other side and defend himself on the media, and then make political capital out of it. That is politicizing. I am saying that this impeachment process, while correctly is a political process, is being politicized by certain people for political gain. And in the same breath, what they are doing is really striking at a pillar of democracy, judiciary, which has always been respected, which has always done so much for the people have respected the judiciary has always lived up to their respect, lived up to their hopes, and what is being done is, there is really an assault on this pillar of democracy.
A strong point, Arima Sundaram makes a political process politicized for political gain.
To the vice chairman, to the chairman, after doing so, to come out and politicize it the way they did, bandy it almost, I mean, that was not a press conference saying we have moved an impeachment motion. There were people there who were reading out, arguing the charges, literally arguing briefs.
Okay, let Muhammad Khan of the Congress respond to that, because Kapil Sibal was the one who was pushing for this. And it's, many people have said he seems to have some kind of an axe to grind against the Chief Justice. He denies it, but arguing a whole litany of charges against a judge who can't come and defend himself in public, that's not right. That's not the right thing to do, Muhammad Khan.
Right, Rahulji, I was listening intently to all the panelists who have come before, and I think many of the questions have been asked and answered. As to some of the questions that remain, I'll confine myself to them. Mr. Gaurav Bhatia raised 4 points. The first is, he said we are using this as a political tool. I wonder if he would have said the same thing to Mr. Arun Jaitley when he initiated and spearheaded impeachment proceedings against Justice Sumitra Sen when he was in the opposition. Now, number 2, he asked about whether this was something that we've done to retaliate against the judgment in the Justice Lohia case. As Kamini ji very correctly pointed out, this move had been initiated a week back. The signatures were collected when Parliament was in session, and we had approached the Honourable Vice President, but he was travelling in the Northeast. His office can verify that to Mr. Bhatia. Finally, this, I see a lot of angst with this decision amongst people who are defending the BJP and who are speaking out for the Chief Justice currently. This wasn't an easy decision for us to make, but the Constitution of India provides for the safeguard under 124 for exactly these kind of situations. We have invoked the constitutional provisions. We have done something that we are allowed to do as a party in opposition, and we have the support of several other parties in opposition. Imagine the flip. When the courts of this country strike down a law passed by the legislature as unjust, you don't say that they're interfering with the working of the legislature, you say they're performing their function. This too is the performance of a constitutional function. And finally this, I want to say that Arima Sundaram ji asked, why did we go before the media? So as a political party, our first obligation and our first duty is towards the public. We are answerable first and foremost in the People's Court. That is why it was an act of transparency. And we would have been remiss in our duty if we did not go to the public and explain why we are taking this very difficult measure. I hope that has answered your question, sir. I believe that has been answered by
Prashant Bhushan, sir, there is clearly enough discord within the Congress party as well. While Kapil Sibal is pushing this hard, I read to you what Salman Khurshid says: impeachment is too serious a matter to be played with frivolously on the grounds of disagreement with any judgment or point of view of the court. Dr. Manmohan Singh expressed reservations earlier and hasn't signed this petition. Now the spin that's being given by the Congress is he's former Prime Minister, but he made his displeasure public when he spoke in an interview and said, you know, I don't believe that this is how you should resolve things in public. Secondly, the RJD is not on board, the TMC is not on board. This is doomed. This will play out as theatre, but in the end, will anything emerge from it, Mr. Bhushan?
You see, I have been involved with virtually all the impeachments that have happened in this country since the beginning. And my own observation has been that the vast majority of the people, whether they are MPs or whether they are lawyers or whether they are judges or retired judges, are frown upon any process of impeachment or even any allegation against a judge or a complaint against a judge even under the in-house machinery. It's frowned upon because political parties have cases pending in the courts, and they are afraid of what might happen to those cases if they are seen as pursuing cases against judges. It's frowned upon by lawyers because they are practicing before the same judges and they are afraid of blowback to them. It's frowned upon by judges and retired judges because they feel that look, why should the reputation or image of the judiciary suffer? The problem is, today the image and reputation of the judiciary is already suffering with the well publicized acts of the Chief Justice, whether it is his acts as Master of Roster or his role in the Medical College matter or various other matters. Now, do you just allow things to lie and allow things to fester and allow the institution to be brought down by the actions of one person, etc., or do you take steps to hold him accountable? That if impeachment is the only process provided for holding a judge accountable, then that's all that has to be done.
Arima Sundaram,
otherwise,
both Kamini
you are just
Jaiswal
allowing things to go on, allowing all this misconduct to go on.
Prashant Bhushan also making the point that there is no option. If you think that the Chief Justice is running amok, taking decisions which he ought not to, if despite the press conference by the 4 judges nothing has changed, you cannot allow the institution to be degraded. Final words from Arima Sundaram.
Rahul, I will repeat what I said. What Parliament or parliamentarians or certain members feel within their constitutional rights that they need to move on something, whether they are right, whether they are wrong, they have a right to move. My point is, I am now talking as a citizen who's looking at it objectively. I'm not commenting on, of course they have a right, they have a constitutional right to move for an impeachment if they are dissatisfied for any reason that they believe that it falls within the constitutional mandate of misbehavior under the constitution of what is required for impeachment. It's up to them. My point, purely as a citizen on perception, is the entire conduct has been the way that today's press conference was had, the kind of outbursts which were going on in court during the Lohia case, where the depths of advocacy went down to an abysmal point, where in all my years of experience I have never come across such kind of maligning, such lack of dignity in advancing arguments as ever before, and it took more and more political hues. My objection is, if you feel as a parliamentarian that you need to do something because constitutionally it is called for, do so. But me as a citizen, when I look at what has been happening and I see the conduct today and all the press conferences, I'm saying this has been politicized. And I am afraid that I have to see this entire movement as an aim at
Kamini Jaiswal, is one thing for the opposition to play politics, that is their job. But why are senior advocates
I just have a point to make.
Political sides?
I just have a point to make.
One second, just hear my question, because Arima Sundaram argued very passionately about the lack of dignity in making arguments, the kind of maligning of the judges that we saw during the arguments in the Justice Lohia case. Is that even the right way to go?
That's exactly. I want to counter that.
Yes.
I want to counter that. I want to counter that.
Go on, ma'am.
Arima Sundaram has forgotten what happened when the matter was listed. The medical council matter was listed before, by Justice Chalmeshwar before 5 senior most judges. The second matter came up before Justice Sikri. Justice Sikri said tag it with that matter. By afternoon, a 7 judges bench was constituted. Instead of 7 judges, 5 judges sat, and the kind of fish market, the arguments that went on there, where the learned Chief Justice called upon members of the bar. Well, Mr. Bhatt, what do you have to say? Mr. Dash, what do you have to say? Gaurav Bhatia, what do you have to say? Rupinder Suri, what do you have to say? Is that the way a constitution bench will decide the Master of Roster issue? Mr. Sundaram was not there in court. The petitioner was not permitted to argue the matter and he had to leave the court. But they called upon everybody else who was supporting their cause to make an argument and decided the issue of Master. He sits himself and makes the judgment on Master of Roster. That was the lowest degree of argument that has ever gone on in the Supreme Court before a constitution bench. Mr. Sundaram completely forgets about it.
Sundaram, I'll give you 20 seconds because a direct charge against you. I'm running out of time. 20 seconds to rebut.
I can rebut it very easily. All I was talking about was how this whole matter has been politicized and why I see it as a political gameplay. And I said that gameplay is being brought out by the manner in which arguments also went on in the Lohia matter, where it clearly started taking political overtones. And then the politicizing of judicial matters
in the medical
became
council
very obvious
matter.
to everybody. Period of time there is a lot of politicizing, and I'm objecting to the politicizing of the judiciary, of bringing politics into the judiciary, of politics trying to pervade its head within the judiciary, and that is what I'm objecting to.
It's already
and
done.
If Ms. Jaiswal, I was not there at that hearing,
done.
if you say lawyers argued with the same amount of lack of dignity, of same amount of maligning, same way of lack of respect to the bench, insulting the court, insulting the judges, I did not hear that happen in that case. What you're objecting to is that all lawyers were allowed to argue, not that any lawyers were busy insulting all the judges and arguing in that manner. That
they were called upon to argue.
Is inexcusable.
There were nobody there.
Okay, these are all very wise voices that have spoken. As always on the newsroom, I don't take sides. You've heard sharply polarized points of view. An impeachment motion against the Chief Justice is no ordinary action. This will have grave consequences. We'll track those consequences. Meanwhile, you decide whether or not this is an ill-advised move by the Congress President, a move which some in his party too have great aversion to. I want to thank all our guests, Gaurav Bhatia, Kamini Jaiswal, Arima Sundaram, Prashant Bhushan, Mohammad Khan, Abhishek Singh. We to start with. Thank you for joining us on the Newsroom Showdown tonight and lighting up this debate with the power of your arguments. We're slipping into a break. I'll have more for you when we come back on the other side. Stay with us.